passage that I'll be talking about is from the Gospel of Mark. It's Mark chapter 6, verses 1 through 13. And it's a passage where Jesus has returned home. He has gone through all of Galilee, performing all these great miracles. He heals the man with the withered hand. He heals Simon's mother-in-law. Jesus finally goes home. And so it's on the Sabbath, and people are applauding him about all these different miracles that he's performed. But then they're like, well, wait a minute. That's just the carpenter's kid, Joseph's kid. So what that you've touched Simon's mother-in-law, but yeah, you're the same guy who touches nails and wood. No big deal. We see the sense of struggle that Jesus has, even in how people are receiving him. And I think there's a sense of struggle that Jesus has as he's thinking about what God has sent Jesus to do, and that is to give his life for humankind. So I think, number one, we need to acknowledge that there is some angst. There's a polemic in the text, if you will. I think, number two, we also have to acknowledge that Jesus didn't let the tension stop him. He realized and he recalled, well, wait a minute, this is what I was called to do. I was called to sacrifice my life. But at the same time, Jesus acknowledged that he was also called to empower the disciples. We don't let it stop there. We acknowledge it. We acknowledge the tension. We acknowledge that people were like, it's no big deal, it's Jesus. But at the same time, we take courage, or we find a sense of hope in the fact that he wanted to pay it forward, to pay the work, to pay the ministry forward. And I think about people who are graduating and the struggles that they may have as they go back home and try to fit back in once they've gone off to college. So there's a sense of pride that many graduates perhaps are feeling because of their accomplishments, but many may also feel this sense of apprehension, trying to find themselves and trying to discern who they really are and discern next steps. And I think Mark helps us to see that Jesus had to deal with some of these transitions as well. As Jesus heard people commenting about him, it grieved him. He was grieved because I think Jesus acknowledged the frustration that the people were feeling about him. Jesus was also grieved because he realized what it is that God had chosen him to do. The text does say that he did begin to empower the disciples so that they would go out and heal and minister and share and do the works that he had done. Perhaps the word for us is to go and encourage someone else. Perhaps that is our way of sharing and ministering and continuing the work, that we acknowledge the pain and we acknowledge the anguish, but yet we don't let it stop us from being who God has called us to be.